Hi, welcome to the Crafty Manatee. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this Puffy Cup Cozy. This cup cozy uses puff stitches throughout to create this really pretty texture, and it's also very customizable because we have some hidden chain two spaces throughout, so there are a lot of different places that you can insert your buttons through in order to customize it to whatever cup size you want. The Puffy Cup Cozy is also available as a free pattern on Rippler, so if you prefer to follow along to a written pattern, you can check that out as well. But other than that, let's go ahead and get started crocheting this Puffy Cup Cozy. Here are the materials that you're going to need to crochet this cup cozy. First, you're going to need about 36 grams of worsted weight yarn in whatever color you want your cup cozy to be. We will also need 2 large buttons. Today we will be using a 5mm crochet hook or the letter H. And finally, we will need scissors and a tapestry needle to cut the yarn off and weave in ends at the end, as well as attaching our buttons. To get started crocheting our Puffy Cup Cozy, we're going to go ahead and chain 20. So we are going to make a slip knot and attach our hook to it. And now we're going to chain 20. And now, starting in the second chain from our hook, we are going to single crochet in every stitch across, and that is going to be a total of 19 single crochet stitches. So we are going to skip the one closest to our hook, and then single crochet, and we're going to repeat that until we have 19 single crochet stitches. So I will meet you back here once we are done with this first row. Now we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. And this is going to be our first puff stitch row. So we are going to work this row in the back loop only in every stitch. So every stitch we work will be in the back loop only. So instead of working in the front loop, as you can see there, we're going to be working in the loop that is the farthest away from us. So each stitch has 2 loops, this front loop and a back loop, and we're only going to be working in the back loops. First, we are going to work 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch, so that turning chain does not count as a stitch. And we'll go ahead and work that single crochet in the back loop only. And now we are going to work a puff stitch. So to work a puff stitch, we are going to yarn over, and we're going to insert our hook through the back loop only of the next stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we're going to yarn over again, insert into the back loop of the same stitch, pull up a loop, and we're going to do that one more time. And now you should have 7 loops on your hook in total. And now for our final step of the puff stitch, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on our hook. And now we're going to work a single crochet stitch. And we're going to repeat working a puff stitch and then a single crochet stitch until the end of the row. So I'm going to show you that puff stitch one more time. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the back loop only, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, insert our hook into the same back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and now yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on your hook. and then we will work a single crochet stitch. So continue doing that all the way until the end of the row, and I will meet you back here once you're done with that. Now that we have completed our first row of puff stitches, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and this is what the puff stitches are looking like on the opposite side. And so now we are going to work that puff stitch row that we just worked 3 more times. So you're going to have a total of 4 puff stitch rows. So it's going to be working a single crochet in the first stitch in the back loop only. And then we're also going to work a puff stitch in a single crochet stitch and repeat those 2 stitches until the end of the row. And I will meet you back here after you've worked 3 more puff stitch rows, and we'll move on to the next section. Now that we have those 4 rows of puff stitches worked, we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn our work. And now we are going to single crochet in every stitch across, but instead of just going through the back loops like we have been for the puff stitch rows, we are going to go through both loops. So we are just going to work one plain single crochet row, working in the front and the back loops of every stitch across. And I will meet you back here once we're done with this row. Now we are going to chain 1 and turn our work, and this row is going to create little gaps throughout the row that these gaps are then going to be used at the end to insert our buttons through to close up the puff stitch cozy, but they're going to be throughout the pattern so that you can adjust the size at the end and they blend in with the pattern. So for this row, we are going to single crochet 1, and then we're going to chain 2 and skip 2 stitches. And we're going to repeat that all the way across the row until just 1 stitch remains, and then we're going to single crochet in that last stitch. So again, we are working through both the front and the back loops for this row. So we are going to single crochet 1, and then chain 2 and skip 2 stitches. So we're going to single crochet after those skipped stitches, chain 2, and skip 2 stitches before we work the next single crochet. And we're going to continue that all the way across, and then work 1 single crochet stitch in the final stitch to close up this row. And now we will chain 1 and turn our work, and this is going to be a plain single crochet row again. So we are going to single crochet all the way across, including into those chains that we made. And we're going to continue that until we get to 19 stitches. And I will meet you back here at the end of this row. And now we have completed 1 section of our Puffy Cup Cozy. So we are going to repeat everything that we have just done, those 4 puff stitch rows in the back loop only, plus a single crochet row, that row with the chains, and another plain single crochet row. We're going to repeat all of that 4 more times, or until your desired length for your cup cozy. If you are making your cup cozy for something really large, like maybe a large water bottle, you might want to add on a few of these repeat sections, and you are going to be able to adjust it at the end by inserting the buttons through different rows of these chain stitches. So I will meet you back here after you have completed however many of these sections you want to work for your cup cozy. Once you have finished all of those repeats, now you can go ahead and fasten off your yarn and cut off the yarn. Now I'm going to go ahead and tuck in this yarn tail. So I am going to thread the yarn through my needle. And I'm going to insert my needle through some of these stitches back here. And now I'm going to turn my needle around and go in the opposite direction. I'm going to skip one stitch just so that the yarn doesn't pull through. And then I'm going to do that one more time in the same direction that we went in the first time. I find that going in 3 directions really helps this yarn tail not pull out in the end. And now you can cut off that yarn tail. And then we're going to repeat the same thing to the other yarn tail. And then I'll meet you back here to add on the buttons, which is the finishing touch of this cup cozy. Now we are going to go ahead and sew on the buttons. And so we are going to take a strand of yarn. So I just cut off this pretty short strand of yarn here. And I'm going to thread that through my needle. And now we are going to position this button over here where we started. So this is the starting end, and we can tell because the puff stitch is the closest over there. So we have the puff stitch, then the single crochet, and so on. So this side ends with those single crochet stitches. So we're going to work in this side. And the buttons are going to be positioned to the 3rd and the 7th puff stitch of the 2nd puff stitch row. So you can see that the 2nd puff stitch row is actually the one that is visible because the first one is pushed to the back. And so we are going to sew a button onto that 3rd stitch. So 1, 2, 3 right there. And then on to the 7th one. So 4, 5, 6, and 7. Essentially, we are just leaving 2 bobble stitches on either side, and we're going to sew into that middle puff stitch. So I'm going to insert through the back of the puff stitch, and then insert through this button. So we're going to pick one of the holes on the button and pull that through. And we didn't pull that original yarn tail all the way through, so there's still a little bit back there. And we are going to just sew this on just like this. So each time we push the needle back through, we are going to be working in a different one of these holes of the button. So we are just going to repeat that, and this is what it will be looking like from the front. And we're going to just keep doing this, going into one hole, coming out of another one, until we feel like our button is secure. And once you feel like your button is secure, we are going to just push that yarn tail through one of the openings and pull it into the back. And this is what the backside will be looking like. So we have these 2 yarn tails, and we will weave those in at the end. But now we're going to go ahead and add on our 2nd button. So we are going to do the exact same thing, except we are going to work it in the 7th puff stitch. And I will meet you back here once you have sewn on that button and tucked in these other yarn tails just like we did earlier. Now that you have attached the 2 buttons, you can insert the buttons through any of the rounds that have the chain 2 spaces. So in my case, there are 5 of those rounds spread throughout. If you decided to work more or less of the repeats, there will be a corresponding number of those rows to how many repeats you worked. So to insert the buttons, I like to just flip it over like this, and that's going to make the buttons wrap around whenever we wrap around whatever cup we were putting this on, and then insert through one of those chain 2 spaces. I'm going to do the same thing for the top button, and here is our finished Puffy Cup Cozy. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning how to crochet your own Puffy Cup Cozy. If you did, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more crochet patterns and tutorials like this one. You can also find me on Instagram at the CrafteeManatee, and you can find all of my patterns on Ravelry, Rippler, and Etsy. Thanks for watching. Bye!